Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this Tooele City Planning Commission meeting to order this Wednesday, December 11th, 2024 at the hour of 7 p.m. here in City Council chambers. First item on our agenda tonight is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you all please rise, remove your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2 on our agenda is our roll call. Commissioner Hammer?
Here.
Commissioner Proctor?
Here.
Commissioner Sloan?
Here.
Commissioner Gossett?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I am also here. Let's please excuse Commissioner Robinson and Commissioner Dunn. Recognize Council Members Manzione and Councilmember Hanson. Staff members Mr. Agard, Mr. Page, Mr. Hanson, and Mr. Baker here tonight. Number 3 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and a decision on a conditional use permit request by Wasatch Seasons Properties, LLC, to authorize the use of an accessory drive-through facility for property located at the southeast corner of 600 North Main Street on .53 acres in the GC General Commercial Zone. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope you don't mind me just for a quick minute breaking from the agenda here. And I'll turn it over to Kent. But I'd like to introduce to you all our new city planner. Kent Page has been with us for 3 weeks now, and I'm grateful to have him. I can't do both jobs, and so he brings with him upwards of 20 years of experience in the planning field. Recently worked with Saratoga Springs. He spent some time working in Tooele, worked for Tooele County, so he is very familiar with our city and our valley, and he'll be a great asset to the city. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Kent, and hopefully we get to keep him here a lot longer than we kept Jared. So with that, I'll just turn this over to him and let him do his presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Agard. Turn it over to Mr. Page. And welcome. They made you sign a contract that you can't leave, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here. So, like it was stated, this is the southeast corner of 600 North and Main Street. It's for a drive-through facility, which is a conditional use. You can see the subject location. Right now, it's encompassing part of 2 parcels, so they'll need a lot line adjustment in addition to this conditional use permit. The current zoning is general commercial, and here is a site plan. Some concerns that staff has noted would be just the stacking in the drive-through aisle and on site. Where people want to be careful that it doesn't impede reasonable movement of pedestrians and vehicles on site or adjacent sites or on the public street. So we'd like the applicant to explain their traffic circulation plan, how that will work. Another possible concern would be the headlights in the drive-through, perhaps shining into the eyes of drivers that are going northbound on SR 36. So that could probably be mitigated through some vegetation between the drive-through and SR 36. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to address those or try to address them at this time.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission for questions for staff. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Chair, I actually have a couple.
Yes, Commissioner Anderson.
Is this a right-in, right-out off of Main, or is it going to be accessed off of 600 North?
That wasn't a detail in the application.
An additional question. The concern about lighting, is that always an issue that we've had in the past with Zaxby's or any of the other businesses with that drive-through, Apollo Burger?
I know it's been a concern in other jurisdictions where I've worked.
Yeah, I think McDonald's would be a good example of that.
Yeah, McDonald's and Apollo.
Good questions.
I think this is a right in, right out already, isn't it?
Their median there.
Yeah.
I should answer that question then, huh? There's a median there that already is right in, right out.
Okay.
I guess you can get aggressive.
Seen it.
I don't have anything else.
Any other questions from the commission for staff? All right, Mr. Page, appreciate it. This one does require a public hearing. Is the applicant here tonight? We'll have you address the commission after the public hearing. I'll give you some time for you to do that. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this particular item tonight. If you would, please approach the podium, state your name for the audible record, and write your name for spelling corrections if needed. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this particular item and invite the applicant up to address the commission.
Thank you. My name is BJ Lund. That's BJ Lund. So I'm the architect, and yes, it is. There is a median, so it is right in, right out. We did hear about the concern about the lighting, but that we could take care of with vegetation, or to get something. Generally headlights are 2 to 3 feet, so we could definitely mitigate that if that's a concern. And as far as stacking, we do utilize a double drive-through, so it condenses more, so it's not as long and doesn't, there's quite a bit of stacking capability in this particular site before it would affect anyone. It potentially could start to block the passage through that, the actual site itself, but there's lots of other avenues in this larger parking lot to navigate around, so it shouldn't impede any traffic flow. So, any other questions? It's pretty simple, straightforward, fast food restaurant, but.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? All right, Mr. Lund, appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, let's bring this back to the commission for any other further questions or comments for staff. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Yes, Commissioner Proctor.
I move we approve the CUP request by Jasmine Santos representing Wasatch Season Properties, LLC for accessory drive-through facility, application number 2024062, based on the findings of subject to the conditions in the staff report.
I have a motion to approve the conditional use permit by Commissioner Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yes. Mr. Baker.
Just a reminder that we do need to go through the exercise of identifying on the record what the anticipated detrimental effects are, and then identify conditions that could mitigate those concerns. And while we have staff who has mentioned them well in the staff report and in front of you tonight, it's an exercise that the commission needs to go through, and so it doesn't have to take long, but if you would please discuss the issue of what detrimental impacts you might anticipate, and then identify conditions that could mitigate them.
Yes, that is a good point, Mr. Baker. I greatly appreciate that. Just to move this forward, just to get to that discussion again, I had a second from, okay, do we want to discuss this again and go through our findings of fact? We need to do that. Lights were the problem facing south on that road for northbound traffic. We've addressed that vegetation might be the solution to that problem. Do we want to make that a condition in this?
Yes, and the applicant already stated that you have a stacking plan that they'll provide.
I just feel that lighting is a little bit of an overreach. How much more interference is it going to be than the traffic in the lane across the street? It just seems a little redundant and a bit of overreach to me.
Well, I can see where they're turning left around the building. The lights are going to sweep right across traffic. So, I feel like it could be possibly, but I don't think we should maybe, instead of just vegetation, like vegetation, or, if they want to put up like a 4-foot vinyl fence or metal something, give them an option. Doesn't have to be, but that's just my.
Mo Betas has has that same setup coming around for their drive-through.
Do they?
They're there on 700 corner 700 North there.
Good point.
So when they mitigated it with vegetation and earth berm that was vegetated.
Yeah, it's hard to think of the topography of it too, because like Zaxby, all those, they set up quite a bit higher than the road, so it's be over most vehicles, and if it was lower, but just demonstrate that they could, it's not an issue, maybe.
Okay. And the other issue we discussed tonight was stacking. Sounds like they got a stacking plan. It's not going to stack into the road unless 400 people want to be there on one particular time, but are there any other ways we can mitigate the stacking in this area?
Sure, I'm comfortable with as it's drawn right now. I don't, with the double drive-through and the fact that it goes back along 600 North into the parking lot, not into certainly SR 36. I don't, if it's being done very successfully at McDonald's, relative to this, I think this is going to be easy.
Probably go internal into their own parking, like the McDonald's does.
Yeah, it's a different parking lot at McDonald's too. It doesn't wrap around into the parking lot, which makes that even more of a mess. It actually brings it out to a different area.
You can actually park here.
You can actually utilize the parking. Then the other issue, I think we mitigated with, we found out already that there's a median there on Main Street, so it is right in, right out, or access from 600 North. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any other issues that we see?
I noticed in the staff report, one of the conditions is the lot line adjustment. I don't know if that's, I mean, just to make the site big enough for parking, I'm guessing they need that little bit of extra space. If we need to put that in there too.
And if it's already a condition by staff, then we're good. Doesn't hurt to double do it, but if they've already mentioned it, we're good too.
Commissioner Jensen, it's a great question. The need for a lot line adjustment is more of a site issue that isn't an anticipated detrimental impact. It will have to be done, and it will be done as a matter of course, independent of the CUP. But it is in the conditions, so I think you're fine there.
So just to add to that, the project is also undergoing a site plan review at this time. And one of the comments that I redlined on the plan was to provide any cross parking agreements. The lot to the east is owned by Chartway, and they did indicate that their Chartway was going to be open to them using that for parking as well. So if the lot line adjustment is a concern for parking issues, I don't believe it will be an issue because of cross-parking agreements. But just information for the commission.
Okay, perfect. That's good information. Are there other findings of fact that we need to address with this particular application? Did I lose audio? Yep. Nope, that's back. We're good. Okay. So we'll bring it back to the motion. I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Proctor. Did you want to change that motion to include a condition for vegetation?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Proctor, the conditional use permit with a condition to add vegetation to help block the lights for northbound traveling traffic. And the second was Commissioner Jensen. Are you still okay with the condition? So the second is from Commissioner Jensen. All right, everybody on the same page, good to go, or I need to reread it? Okay, Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one passes 7-0. Moves us on to number 4 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and a decision on a conditional use permit request by L&S Ventures to authorize the use of auto impound yard to be conducted on approximately 1.65 acres of property located at 480 South Alexander Drive in the Industrial Zoning District. Mr. Page.
Okay, we have a aerial photograph showing the proposed area for an impound yard for police vehicles. The zoning is industrial all through that area. They provided this site plan. Staff recommends that there be some conditions placed on it. That there be a fence, a view obscuring fence that be high enough to block views of the vehicles. A second condition would be to have a sign on the fence on the outside with the business name, phone number, and address that can be visible within 50 feet. And it's compliant with city sign ordinances. Third condition would be the exterior portion of the business be kept clean from any debris or oil or waste or parts of vehicles. And the last condition would be that no vehicle or part thereof may be placed closer than 2 feet from any fence. These are conditions for towing yards that are in our code. So I suggest that we use those same conditions for this application.
Absolutely. All right, we'll bring this back to the commission for questions for staff.
Are they going to do anything to mitigate fluids from the cars in any way? Motor oil, radiator fluid that could potentially get into the groundwater?
I have not heard that. So my understanding that these would be kind of impounded vehicles, not necessarily wrecked vehicles, so perhaps that makes a difference, that they might be still intact vehicles and not be subject to, leaking fluids. So
Isn't there something in our,
Site plan map. State impound yard, the temporary storage vehicles most likely will have a low risk of contamination.
Yeah.
So
I just wondering if they had any kind of additional
Mitigation plan?
yeah,
any mitigation plan if something did happen.
yeah, it could be good to, if the applicant could state what temporary would be in this situation.
good questions. Any other questions for staff?
I have a question. What have we required in the past for impound lots for oil and leaking of different things?
No, we usually require pavement, don't we?
Or some sort of
Concrete.
I remember, I thought there was some sort of a compound that maybe we could use.
I think it was only pavement.
Just pavement?
well, there was I can't remember what the application was in the same general area. Paul probably does, where we had that discussion.
It was
I think you're referring to the Copart property.
That's exactly what it was.
They, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they did bring in they did their site with a gravel, but they had some kind of, I don't know, adhesive that they spread over the top of the gravel that solidified the gravel in a way that it was almost like asphalt. Does that sound about right, Paul?
Yes, and they have a plan to capture these spills, to monitor
That was, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
And we just recently approved a vehicle storage yard for Marcosian Auto.
Yeah.
The difference between that application and this one is those were wrecked vehicles. And so there was a higher chance of fluid leaking from those vehicles than there would be for this application. But typically, some kind of a gravel surface is what we would see most commonly with an impound lot.
Yes, good question. Any other questions from the commission? We'll let you stew on it a minute while we open the public hearing. How about that? Okay, that works. All right, thank you, Mr. Page. And is the applicant here tonight? Okay, we'll give you a minute once again after the public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this particular item tonight. If you would please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and write your name for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and invite the applicant up to address the commission if you'd like to.
Good evening. My name is Jake Stewart. And you guys have any questions, concerns I can answer for you?
I think that was one of them, the surface.
It's the surface.
Yeah.
So in other impound yards, is it's a gravel surface, or they use it's called a roto mill. It's pretty much ground up asphalt that you can bring in, and then once it gets hot, like in the summertime, you can roll it, and it pretty much becomes asphalt again.
And that's what you're planning
That's
on
what I'm
putting
planning on
Okay.
doing.
I think that's what we utilized in the last one, so that makes more sense to us now. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
And just to address the leaking vehicles. So being that it is a police rotation, it is also accidents that do come in. Not as often as like a impound for DUI or no insurance or something like that, but occasionally there is an accident that comes in. I call them cake pans. It's about a 3 foot by 4 foot by about 2 to 3 inches tall. So if there is any leaking coming from the vehicle, it automatically gets one of those pans underneath it to catch any of the oil or antifreeze that is leaking.
And you do have a plan in place for that too?
Yes, I already, yep, I got all those done in my other yards.
Perfect. Does that address your, perfect. Okay. Any other questions for the commission?
Did you heard the staff recommendations regarding fencing and signage, any of those cause you any heartburn?
Being that it is a 1.65 acres, it is a lot to fence in. What my plan was is, I mean, I've been paying for this yard already for almost a year, so I'm about 20 grand in the hole already. But once I get some revenue coming in and take a bit at a time, even if I could fence in a yard within the yard to begin with, and then as time goes, just expand it out to the whole properties being covered. I don't need 1.65 acres as an impound yard. I need about 60 feet by 60 feet. But what my plan is, yes, as it grows, to do the outer fence as the growth comes in.
Thank you.
Great questions, great comments. Any other? All right, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Appreciate you. All right, let's bring this back to the commission. And I think we addressed the surface. Might have to put it in a condition in our agreement tonight to use the rotomill, whatever it is, to seal the surface or whatever we need to do. But I think that rotomill is probably the cheapest route to go for most, okay? And then the plan to capture spills, he's got a plan with the 3x4 pan. We can add it into our conditions tonight as well if that helps everybody's mitigating the issue. So are there any other findings of fact that we need to address on this particular property?
Do we have to address the fencing?
The fencing has already been addressed in the staff's conditions, so we can add it, but it has been addressed already. So
Might be good to clarify for the record whether you're going to require the entire site to be fenced up front, or if you'll allow the operating yard to be fenced and then expand over time.
perfect. Thank you, Mr. Baker. That will help clarify things a little bit, huh?
Maybe an easy way to say it is all vehicles contained in the yard must be behind the fencing. If you need more space, then you put up a little bit more, expand it.
You'll know when to do it.
Okay. Any other findings of fact that we need to address? I like it. You guys are on it tonight. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm sure now everybody's quiet.
It's somebody else's turn.
And move that we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for Jake's Towing and Recovery State Impound Yard, CUP, requested by...
This is your decision.
I'm just reading as it says, guys. So I say we call it an award of the CUP, approve the CUP based on the facts and findings and facts in the staff report, including fencing. All vehicles shall be stored inside of the 8-foot fence that was mentioned in the staff report. Nothing being stored outside, and also the surface of the yard be, I don't know if we want to call it non-porous, or are you good enough with gravel, or? Okay. What I didn't want to do is tie him to that if there's another alternative that gets us where we want to go. Yeah, rotomill or comparable, and with the signage that was mentioned in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Okay, did we want to include the plan to capture spills of 3 by?
Yes, please add that. I'll take that as a
I'll
friendly
second
amendment.
that.
Okay. I'm going to read this back to make sure we can capture it all together.
Good luck with
Got a
that.
motion to approve the conditional use permit by Commissioner Sloan with the conditions to add the rotomiller equivalent to the surface, to keep all cars stored in their area behind the site obscuring fence, and the plan to capture spills with your 3.5 or 4.5 foot pan, whatever plan you have to eliminate that and to dispose of those fluids. And I have a second from Commissioner Anderson. We all good and on the same page? Any discussion? Okay, Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Move us on to number 5 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and a recommendation on a zoning map amendment request by Bach Homes LLC to amend the conditions of the PUD planned unit development overlay regarding building setbacks and lot sizes for approximately 9.06 acres located at approximately 650 North, 700 West in the R17 PUD zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This application to amend the Copper Canyon PUD is treated as a zoning map amendment because PUDs are an overlay to our zoning maps. And so therefore we have to go through the zoning map process to amend that. If you're familiar with Copper Canyon PUD, it's a large development that sits south of 1000 North at approximately 300 West, and they've built quite a few homes there in the subdivision as it currently stands. This aerial photograph shows the subject property that would be affected by the PUD amendments. However, all of the homes that you see located to the east of that are part of the Copper Canyon subdivision. So it's a very large development. They have approximately 4 phases left to develop, and those would be all incorporated within the property outlined in red. The zoning of the property is R17 PUD, as are the properties to the east. To the north, we have some MR16 and then some light industrial to the west with some MR8 multifamily residential to the south. The Union Pacific Railroad corridor runs north to south along the western boundary of the property. The reason for this PUD amendment involves the area that I've highlighted in red on those lots. What the situation is there are some significant sewer utilities that run through this property. And currently the way the subdivision is established is the lots have a sewer easement. It's about 10 to 12 feet wide. This easement is part of the lot. So the lot owner owns the easement. However, it's very restrictive in regards to what they can do to it. They can't build a structure back there in the easement. They can't put trees in there. Really, there's not much they can do with the property other than probably growing a vegetable garden on top of it. As you can imagine, this does create some conflict because people want to be able to use their property. And it also creates conflict for the city. If we have to get in there and maintain that sewer line utility, sometimes people put stuff in the easement. And it creates a burden. If we have to get back there for an emergency or some maintenance, we have to go through a lot of the materials that the owners have installed. So what Bach Homes would like to do is they would like to amend the conditions of the PUD and basically take this easement, not only what you see on the screen, but your packet also included some other lots throughout the subdivision that will be affected by this. Take the easement out of the lot size and deed that easement to Tooele City. So it is thereby owned by the city, and we can get access to it without having to go through people's yards, and then people won't have the confusion of not being able to use property that they technically own. So the PUD conditions need to be slightly amended. The original conditions of the PUD authorized a 15-foot minimum setback, a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet, limited the uses in the development to single-family detached, and also limited the number of lots to, I believe, 494, if I'm not correct, somebody correct me, but the new conditions of the PUD would change the rear yard setback to a 15-foot minimum from the south property line of the 12-foot sewer easement, directly south of the lots listed. And then it would reduce the minimum residential lot size to 5,000 square feet, and you keep the use single family and keep the number of units the same. This will not change or amend the configuration of the subdivision in any way. It just permits a smaller lot so that they can get that easement deeded over to the city rather than keep it under the ownership of the individual lot owners. The unit count will stay the same. The lot configuration, the lot width, all those things will stay the same. They will have smaller backyards with this new condition. But we think that by getting the easement into the city's ownership rather than private ownership would be beneficial to the property owner as well as to the city. So that's what's being requested with this zoning map amendment. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you. Roger is also very knowledgeable on the Copper Canyon development agreement and PUD, and I believe the applicants are here to answer any questions you might have as well. So,
Perfect. Let's bring this back to the commission for questions for staff.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, Commissioner Jensen.
Is this a existing sewer line that's already there, or?
it is.
So it's like a main feeder line probably that goes down from the old sewer plant?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right? It's a big one. Yeah, it's a big
It's
trunk
already
line,
there.
so.
Yeah, all right. That's why I was wondering why not just change it, but if it's already there, that makes sense. And then also, is it 10 feet or 12 feet? Because I've seen both in the report.
Yeah.
The plat that I provided here, it shows 10 feet.
But on the staff report, it says 12. Just curious if it.
But this is only one section of it. I didn't verify the others. The others may be 12 feet.
Yeah.
But
Every once in a while, I've repaired some city sewers, and 10 feet's not a lot of room, depending on how deep it is, you know. I mean, 12 feet's still tight, but, you know, some of them are 10 to 15 feet deep, and that's pretty tough to fix in a tight
is a
spot
big
like
truck.
that.
Yeah.
The application says 12, and that's what I've always understood it would be 12. The applicant can straighten that out if we need to.
I think the more room's the better for whoever's going to be working and fixing on it, but.
Great question.
In the slide I'm showing you here, these have already been built. This is just an example showing how the easement currently works with the lots.
Okay.
The lots that this will apply to most likely will be 12 feet.
Some of the earlier phases, we did only get 10 feet, I believe, but in recent years, all of the easements we've been getting are the 12 feet.
Yeah.
So
That's a great comment, and it's good to have the knowledge of someone that repairs those lines to maybe look at that a little better in the future, help him out, help them all out. Good question, though.
And it's
Commissioner-
only affecting these lots that's listed?
Say that again.
It's only affecting these lots that are listed?
Yeah, those lots that are listed are the ones that have the potential for the sewer easement. The rest of them shouldn't be impacted by this.
Okay.
the city council ordinance that they will consider next week itemizes the lot numbers, so it can't be interpreted more broadly or narrowly than what's been asked for.
All right, any other further questions from the commission for staff?
What does the maintenance look like for the city if you've got fences on both sides and a?
I wish I could answer that. I'm not involved with the maintenance for that. Paul may have a little more insight on that, but typically that's done by the Public Works Department. I do know they have a large vacuum truck that they often need to get back into these places to clear blockages and so forth. Like Commissioner Jensen said, it can be pretty tight to get that big truck back there.
Good questions. All right. We'll let everybody stew over it while we have a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Agard. All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing to this particular item. We'll leave time for the applicant afterwards to address the commission if you'd like. But if you'd like to address this, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and write your name for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and, did you want to? Yes, please, come on up.
It's hard to turn.
My name is Jeremy Bolton. I own a property in the newer phase, or the older phase. So I think it was actually in the first phase. So does this mean that we're going to be losing some of our property line? Okay, so it's anything that's newer. I just don't know exactly. This is my first time ever at a meeting here, so.
Well, welcome.
No, thank you. I just was wondering if the back of our fence will have to move, or, you know.
No, this will only apply to the new properties. The older properties, they'll have to do something else with. So
Okay.
if it's already been approved, then you're good to go.
Yeah, mine's like right on the border there, so I was just kind of curious about that, so. All right.
Yeah, Andrew would be the one to talk to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolton. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I think Mr. Agard wanted to address this one more time.
Yes, I neglected to mention that I did receive one comment from an individual who was in the noticing radius. He was just curious about what was involved with this zoning map amendment and didn't express any opposition or support for it. He just wanted to know what was going on. So I explained basically to him what I explained to you about the sewer line easement, and he says, okay. So just for information, we did receive that one comment.
I love it when they reach out for information. Makes us all happy, right? All right. Is the applicant here tonight? Would you like to address the commission? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, just want to add a little clarity on the 12-foot sewer easement that you guys were referencing. In past discussions with the city, it got changed from 10 feet to 12 feet on phase 7, which is the one illustrated, and Bach's intention is to do that as a 12-foot easement proceeding through the next phases through phase 12 and 13.
What was your name?
Oh, my apologies. My name is Derek Rindlisbacher. I'm with Bach Homes.
I'm not spelling that.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Yeah, is there any questions from the commission for the applicant? Yeah, if you'll please fill out the paper so we can get your name spelled right in there. I appreciate it. It's a tough one.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity of the record, we've been talking a lot about an easement tonight. What will happen, though, if this is approved, is that we will no longer be contemplating an easement in the new phases. It will actually be deeded to the city in fee.
Right.
And so that will become a property line instead of an easement line. But I think we all understand what's happening, but just want to make sure the record's clear that we'll be talking about a conveyance, not an easement at that point.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Rindlisbacher. Did I say it right?
No, you did.
Good.
Just like it's spelled.
I know, just like it's spelled. I just can't spell it. And thank you for the clarification, Mr. Baker. That's very helpful. I appreciate that. All right, let's bring this back to the commission for any other further questions or comments. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Copper Canyon PUD zoning map amendment request by Derek Rindlisbacher, representing Bach Homes LLC, for the purpose of amending the conditions of the PUD overlay as described in the staff report application number 2024-066, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated December 3rd, 2024.
I have a motion with the positive recommendation from Commissioner Jensen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ty.
A second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Gossett will have to take his glory some other time. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This is a positive recommendation going up to the City Council. Brings us on to number 6 on our agenda tonight. It is a decision on a preliminary subdivision plan request by David Lewis IV, representing D.R. Horton for Western Acres Phase 2C to create 44 townhouse-style residential lots on approximately 5.8 acres located at approximately 1700 North, 300 East in the MR16 PUD multifamily residential zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This preliminary subdivision plan involves the wedge-shaped property located on your aerial map. It is located immediately east of the Overpass Point Mobile Home Park at approximately 1700 North. The property is currently zoned MR16 PUD. The PUD was approved a few years back, which provided some changes to building setbacks and to building architecture. And this particular property is part of that PUD. The Overpass Point to the west is a legally non-conforming mobile home park, which is currently zoned GC General Commercial. This is the Western Acres overall plan that was provided to us when they did their PUD, and the red indicates the part of the overall development that Phase 2C will occupy. Phase 2C will consist of front entry townhomes, some rear entry townhomes, and also some garage-less townhomes. And that's how it plays into the overall plan. I believe there will be 44 new units with this phase. And then this is the preliminary subdivision plat showing the arrangement of the townhomes. With this phase, they'll be extending Copper, I believe that's Copper Canyon Road, which is an 84-foot right-of-way, and it will extend south, and will eventually connect ultimately to 1000 North. But Western Acres will be building this road as per our transportation master plan. These are townhouse lots. Townhouse lots are not limited to lot size restrictions in the MR16 zone. This was done to enable the creation of townhouse lots where individuals can buy a lot that is essentially the footprint of their home and own that privately. The plat also shows various hatch patterns. You'll notice that there's a darker hatch pattern that is their driveway. This is what we call limited common area. This is area that is not owned by the lot owner, but is limited to their use, so such as a driveway or private patio space. And then the remaining areas shown in white are the roads, the open space, and then the Middle Canyon drainage, which runs north to south on the west side of the subdivision. D.R. Horton has put a lot of resources into improving that drainage. They have installed a trail system that will ultimately connect to the trail system at England Acres Park and ultimately to Smelter Road. They've really provided a great benefit there with that drainage. So the preliminary subdivision plan is proposed. Staff has reviewed. We are confident that it meets all of the standards and specifications and ordinances for subdivisions, especially multifamily. And we are recommending approval with the basic conditions listed in your staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
All right, let's bring this back to the commission for questions or comments. I hear none. So this is a decision for us tonight. If there are no questions or comments or discussion, I can entertain a motion.
Chair, I move we approve the preliminary subdivision plan request by David Lewis, representing D.R. Horton for Western Acres Phase 2C, application number 2024-053, based on the findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated dated December 4th, 2024.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Anderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Proctor. Any discussion before we move forward? Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan? Aye. Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Moves us on to number 7 on our agenda tonight is a decision on a preliminary subdivision plan request by Travis Sutherland to subdivide approximately 17 acres of property into 36 single-family residential lots located at approximately 600 South Oak Ridge Drive in the R112 residential zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This proposed preliminary subdivision plan is proposed for the uniquely shaped properties highlighted in red on the aerial photograph. These properties are located in the foothills on the south side of Tooele City. They are located in what we consider the sensitive area overlay zone. and the properties are zoned R112. We have Gordon Hollows located to the north of the proposed subdivision. There is a city water facility located just south. It is the the white circle, excuse me. This is an old zoning map. Apologize for that, but it still works. And it shows the zoning of the property. There is actually a PUD over this property called the Bison Ridge, and it basically works in conjunction with the sensitive area overlay and requires some specific requirements for grading, most particularly the amount of area that can be disturbed by grading for each structure. But that's about it. It doesn't do much more than that. This is the proposed plat. They will be connecting to existing stub streets and connecting to Deer Hollow, located to the southeast of the subdivision. Each lot has been reviewed according to the standards and requirements of the sensitive area overlay and the R112 zoning district, and they do meet or exceed those standards. The roads will all be public streets. There are 2 stormwater detention basins that will ultimately be turned over to Tooele City for ownership and maintenance. And yeah, it's a complicated piece of property, but I'm confident that the applicant has designed this well, and it'll be a good subdivision for the city. So we're recommending approval with the conditions listed in your staff report. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
Okay, let's bring this back to the commission for questions or comments.
I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Parker.
I noticed Public Works in their review, they were worried about the water line being within 10 feet of 2 different lots and being able to access them.
Paul, can I call on you to respond to that one?
The water line you're talking about, I don't have a pointer, but it would be off of the existing tank running north down Mountaineer. It'll just be a condition that when they put the homes on those lots, we'll make sure they're set back far enough so that if the lines have to be maintained or there's a leak, it doesn't damage the homes.
Okay.
Good question. Yes, Mr. Baker.
Just a little history on this project. The city acquired this land and some land to the north and a lot of the land to the south in the hills as part of its ongoing open space initiatives a number of years ago. With this particular property, the City Council recognized that some of what they had acquired was very developable, and so the City Council was able to sell those portions of the land for development and recoup some or all of its cost to acquire the open space located to the south. So it's really a very interesting and I think exciting open space initiative by the council, and it's going to have a great result.
Thank you for that history. Much appreciated. All right, any other questions or comments for staff? All right, this one also is a decision, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Hidden Hollow preliminary plan subdivision request by Travis Sutherland for the purpose of creating 36 single-family residential lots, application number 2024039, based on the findings and substitute conditions listed in the staff report dated December 4th, 2024.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Sloan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion before we go to a vote? Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one passes. Moves us on to number 8 on our agenda is our City Council reports. Ms. Manzione.
Hello, Commissioners. I don't have anything to report from our last meeting, so I will just tell you thank you for a great year and I wish you happy holidays, and we'll see you next year, unless you have any questions for me.
Come on, let's fire some questions.
I have a question.
Ooh,
Are you still going to be standing here for us next year?
Well, we will determine that the 1st of January. First meeting we have in January, so.
Well, then I will just
Do we
hold
need-
your Merry Christmas in advance.
We need to make a recommendation to the city council?
Unless they kick me off, I'll be back.
Just feel free to let the rest of your council people know that we really like having the two of you here.
Okay.
We appreciate you very much.
We appreciate that. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Manziel? Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for the goodies.
Yes. All right. Moves us on to number 9 on our agenda tonight is a review and decision of the meeting, minutes of the Planning Commission meeting held on November 13th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm not listed as present, but I am listed as giving the council report.
How'd you do that?
So, I don't know. I must have been here.
You must have been here. I feel like it was forever ago, so I don't remember. Okay, we'll get that corrected in the minutes. Other than that correction, any other additions or corrections? All right, with that correction, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from, where is it? November 13th, 2024. Thank you.
Okay, I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Sloan. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. Those ones will pass. Now it moves us on to number 10 is a review and approval for our Planning Commission meeting schedule for 2025. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Chairman. Included in your packet was a schedule for the meetings that are proposed for 2025. The meeting schedule is pretty straightforward. It follows the standard second and fourth Wednesday of every month, except for November and December, where we only have the one meeting. So nothing new in regards to the schedule. If you have any questions about that, let me know.
Any questions from commission? We want to change it to Monday night? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the meeting schedule for 2025.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammer. The chair will second that one. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. All right, moves us on to Chris Sloan's favorite item ever. Is our decision for electing a Planning Commission Chair and Vice Chair for 2025.
Part of me thought that it might be better to hold this to the end of our little training session tonight, so the chair will actually know what they're getting into. But Tyson, you've been in there for 2 years, so you are ineligible to be the chairman for 2025. You can come back in 2026, but the bylaws prohibit you from doing more than 2 terms. So tonight we need to elect a new chair, and we need to elect a vice chair. The vice chair is not limited to terms, so he or she can be the vice chair in consecutive years without having to take a break. But the chair, Dyson, you're out for a year. So.
That's okay. Rode this bicycle once already.
You've done a great job as our chairman, and there's a reason they wanted you there for 2 years. So we appreciate the work you do for our commission, and you do a good job there. So open for motions, and I'll let you guys decide who's going to be your new chair and new vice chair.
I'll be the chair. You want to do that?
Not really. Don't you want to?
No, I don't.
None of us want to. I move that we stick to Matt Robinson and nominate him to be the chair.
I'll second that.
Of course, since he's not here.
With all love and
Can we
respect.
do that when he's not here? Yeah.
Absolutely.
We did it last time, I think.
I think we did it when he wasn't here before.
I think so too.
He knew it would happen.
Seeing no further nominations, move we close them and elect Matt by acclamation against his will.
I think it already happened.
Yep.
All right, that work for you, Mr. Agard? Do we need to take a full vote on it?
Yep.
Okay. So I have a nomination for Matt Robinson as our chair. Do I have a first? Commissioner Sloan, do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton, and I think this is funny. Aye. And that's on the record.
Make sure we get that in the minutes.
Now you're vice chair.
Yep. Any nominations for vice chair? Man, you guys are quiet.
I nominate Chris Lowe.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? So I have a motion from Commissioner Anderson to nominate and seat Commissioner Sloan, and a second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
No.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 6-1, and I knew that was going to happen too.
And you didn't even say it was funny.
Need to add that into the bylaws. Vice chairs can't serve more than two.
All right.
All right, commissioners, you're going to get tired of hearing from me tonight. We need to do one more training session with you. And I thought it'd be good to do a training on the Planning Commission bylaws to serve two purposes. Number one, to familiarize you with your own bylaws, but also to serve as a review of the Planning Commission bylaws and see if you guys are still happy with what you have and if you want to look at making some amendments to that. It's going to be a very dry and boring training. I apologize for that. I don't know what else to do with it.
There's only so much you can do with bylaws.
Just to go through it and look at it. I have a bunch of slides here. I did give you a copy of the bylaws.
Andrew, I have a question before we start.
Absolutely.
Could we adjourn the meeting, Tyson, so that our minute taker can go home? Because she doesn't need to take minutes on this part. So she can.
Or you can just excuse her.
Or just excuse
Yeah,
her?
we can
'Cause
excuse
this
her.
isn't part of the meeting, right?
What a
Training.
suck up. She's going to say nice things about you in the minutes.
So she indicated before the meeting that she wants to stay for the training.
Well, she's welcome to
excellent.
stay.
Okay.
She's only got like an hour and 15-minute drive to get home.
You're welcome to leave, but you're welcome to stay too. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammer.
Thanks, Melanie.
Well, Roger's leaving, so.
Thanks, Roger.
Be careful going home.
So, what are the bylaws and why do we have them?
Do you want answers?
What do you think?
Thought it was rhetorical.
They're the rules that govern how we function as a planning commission and help us stay on track and do things right. Right?
Are they an official ordinance?
Yeah. Oh, are they an official ordinance?
They're not, no, they're not an ordinance, they're a set of bylaws for the
that's
planning
correct.
commission.
They are not an ordinance. They are ratified by the Planning Commission through a resolution. So they apply to you as the commission, and that's it. They don't really apply to the public or the city council or anybody at large. They are specific to the Planning Commission. And Commissioner Hammer is correct. They are the rules and operational procedures for how the Planning Commission functions. They are a set of rules that deal with, number one, the organization of the Planning Commission, and number two, the rights and the duties of the members of the Planning Commission, the rules and procedures, decorum and debate, and it also has Section 5, which is suspension of bylaws and rules of procedure, and then Section number 6, amendment procedures. If you want to amend your bylaws, the bylaws tell you how to do it. Oh, excuse me. So I'd like to just touch on each one of these sections of the bylaws. I didn't put everything in my slides that you will find in your printout. I did that just for the sake of time and also to save my carpal tunnel wrists. It's a lot of typing. I didn't want to do that. So the first thing in organization dealt with the election of officers, and we just did that tonight. The bylaws require that at the last meeting of each year, we elect a new chairperson and a new vice chair. Alternate planning commissioners shall not be eligible for election as the chair or vice chair. It can only be full regular commissioners in that position. We elect one chair, one vice chair at the end of each calendar year. The chair can only serve 2 consecutive terms. So that's why Commissioner Hamilton was not eligible. He's been serving in that capacity for 2 years.
Got 1 year off, buddy.
1 year off. We'll get him back there in 2026.
Happened last time.
Will happen next time.
The chair of the Planning Commission is the presiding official of the Planning Commission. And so the elected chair will preside at all the meetings and provide general direction during the meetings. So the chair is basically the MC. It's not staff. It's not the council representatives. It is the Planning Commission chair. So he or she are the ones that run the meeting and keep everything moving smoothly. The chair also puts motions to a vote. The chair maintains points of order and practice. The chair has the responsibility of maintaining decorum during meetings. And we'll talk more about decorum during the meetings later on. The chair is also responsible to move the agenda along and to control public comment. We don't want the meetings to lag, so the chair keeps things going along. And recent chairs that we've had have always done a good job at keeping our meetings going. Rarely do we have long meetings, and as a staff member, I'm very grateful for that. So, the chair also recognizes speakers and commissioners and also declares the meetings to be adjourned. The duties of the vice chair, basically the vice chair fills in when the chair is absent and assumes all duties and responsibilities. So what do we do when we don't have a chair and a vice chair? The bylaws tell us what we do in that situation. So when both of them are absent from the meeting and we have a quorum, the remaining commission shall appoint a temporary chair to operate for that meeting or possibly for the next meeting if both of them are going to be absent for more than one meeting. They will put this forth during a public hearing as a motion, and then they will vote on that, and the temporary chair will assume all responsibilities of the chair for the period of time that is designated. I have not seen that happen in my 7 years here. Usually the chair and the vice chair.
We did it once.
We did it once.
Did we do it once? Okay, I don't recall that.
That's why she left.
But it doesn't happen very often because we have a good chair and a vice chair that are always at the meetings. So, the rights and duties of members. Planning Commission members have duties and they have rights. So ethics. I don't want to get into ethics tonight. Ethics will be an entirely different training in and of its own, and we'll handle that next year. But the Planning Commission shall utilize and comply with the Utah Municipal Officers and Employees Ethics Act and the Utah State Code. So, in other words, you are required to be ethical as planning commissioners. And we'll tackle that more in another training session in and of itself. I might tap Roger to weigh in on that one. So, and alternate duties. Commissioner Gossett, you are an alternate. And so is Commissioner Dunn, who's not here tonight. What does an alternate do? An alternate is very important because sometimes the regular commissioners are unable to attend. And so we need the alternates to fill in so we ensure we have a quorum and that we can make sure that applications are approved and continue to move through the process. So the alternate will attend all planning commissions except those that are duly excused from the meeting. So even though an alternate doesn't participate with the full commission, we do expect the alternates to come to as many meetings as they possibly can so they can be apprised of the applications, the processes, and the procedures of the Planning Commission. The main responsibility of an alternate is to take the place of the regular Planning Commission member this is one I learned when I was writing this. I didn't realize that only a mayor's alternate appointee can replace the mayor's regular appointed commissioner, and only the city council alternate shall replace the city council's regular appointed commissioner. I suppose that if one or the other is not present, then that commissioner can fill in regardless, but the first choice must go to the commissioner who was appointed by the city council or the mayor. I didn't realize that. So let me ask you, as a commission, who here knows if they were appointed by the mayor or by the commission or by the council?
I know how I was, but I don't know anybody else.
Commissioner Proctor, are you mayor or?
Mayor.
Commissioner Sloan?
Council.
Council?
Mayor.
Mayor? Commissioner Gossett?
Mayor.
I have no idea.
I think you're appointed by the city council. Yep. Yep. Commissioner Anderson?
Mayor.
Mayor? Commissioner Hammer?
I think council, but I'm.
That's a really long time ago.
Yeah.
It would make sense to choose council because there are.
She has to be
Chris,
council.
Matt and I were at the same time,
I think Commissioner Robinson is a council appointee.
but we can't all be council.
So four of you would
I think the best
be,
we could've-
four of you would be mayor and three of you would be council.
But don't they, and they don't rotate when they're called?
I don't think they do. It just depends on the vacancies as they come open. Yep. So, yeah, there's a little information for you. So,
Andrew, can I ask a question pursuant to this from a contextual standpoint? This sounds like we're talking about meeting by meeting, or are we talking about in the event that a regular commissioner had to leave the commission? Does this say that the mayor's alternate or the council's alternate has to replace that person?
they have to have first choice. So we, ultimately, anybody can fill that role. Any of the alternates can fill that role, but the first choice has to go to the one that was appointed by the same individual. I didn't know that.
I'm not sure that I'm saying it right.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
When the council gets tired of me and throws me off, you're mayor, huh? So whoever the council alternate is, so I guess Commissioner Dunn, is she mandated to sit in this chair?
Yes, that is correct. So when we've had commissioners in the past leave, most of them have been mayoral appointments, and so it's the mayor that automatically fills that role. Usually it's the alternate that slides into the role, but yeah, it would have to be appointed by the same body. So. Here's an interesting one, alternate duties. If a regular commissioner arrives after the meeting has begun and the alternate has been recognized by the chair as replacing the regular commissioner, the alternate shall remain sitting on the regular commission for the remainder of the meeting, and the regular commissioner shall remain as if an alternate commissioner. So the alternate, once they're seated on the commission for that meeting, they don't become an alternate again. They are a full member of the commission.
So we got a dumb question too.
Yeah.
So just because it's happened in our lifetime, so you want to hit it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So
We just discussed.
somebody quit or went away or whatever they did. I can't remember who it was. But then somebody else was appointed by the mayor instead of the alternate to fill that position.
Yeah, an alternate doesn't
Automatically go up. It could be somebody else appointed.
That's true. So the alternate does not automatically be appointed. It is still a mayoral choice.
Right.
Yeah, that was the question I was trying to ask really badly.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I think
Thanks.
I fit that one because I was appointed by the mayor and the alternate did not want to become a full.
Yep, that is an excellent point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's typically how it operates, just by choice, but it doesn't have to operate that way.
Do we need to adjust the verbiage then? Because it says shall, it doesn't say may.
Does my slides say that, or does the actual bylaw say that?
Your slides are gospel.
Because if the bylaws actually say that in the document, then we may want to look at, because we haven't followed that to
No, we have not.
to the mark.
It does say shall.
Can I say something?
It says shall.
In are you in number 2 or number 3 of the bylaws?
think our question deals with
Because
number 2.
Number 2 is referring only to meetings. It's
That's
not.
why I asked the question if it was
It
just
says
meetings or if it was-
specifically in the absence, not present at a meeting. So it doesn't say like they're gone forever. It just says they're not present at a meeting.
That's how.
Yeah, it says shall first be, then.
So then it shall. So like Mr. Gossett tonight is a mayor's appointee, and Robinson is a council one. There's not another alternate. But if Robinson were gone and you both the alternates were here, you should have had Allison fill in because she's the council's appointee. But that it says specifically in a meeting, at a meeting.
I get reading the slides instead of reading the reading. That's on me. Thank you.
Great points. Thank you. Other alternate duties. The chair shall have discretion to seat the alternate at the side of the dais. So the chairman can decide if they want the alternates to sit at the side here or at the table, which is where we usually place our alternate commissioners. The chair shall decide if the alternate can participate in questions, discussions, and debate. That is the discretion of the chair. The chair can have discretion to seat the alternate commissioners elsewhere, and they also have discretion that they shall not participate in public hearing, discussions, and debates except as authorized for the general public. So that's another duty of the chair in regards to how the alternate planning commissioners operate. Any questions on that one? Okay. Meeting attendance. So planning commissioners shall attend meetings unless unable to do so due to extenuating circumstances. We request, and the bylaws request, that you contact the Community Development Department first and let them know that you're not going to be attending. You can either contact me or you can contact Kent, the city planner, and then to also inform the chair of the absence. And then the alternate shall fill the roles of the absent commissioners. You guys are usually pretty good about letting the chair and letting staff know, so we appreciate that. Term of office. The bylaws refer to Tooele City Code 2-3-3, which is the code that establishes the Planning Commission and the terms for the Planning Commission. 3 commissioners appointed by the City Council, as we discussed, 4 commissioners appointed by the mayor. Each term is for 4 years and begins on January 1st of even-numbered years. And I believe the terms are structured so that they overlap, and so that we don't have a complete replacement of the commission at one time. So it's intended to keep half of you on as the terms expire, and the other half could be reappointed or have new commissioners appointed. So,
Andrew, can we go back to C?
Go back to
C, just one ahead, behind, on meeting attendance. So I know I don't follow this very well, because I just notify the chair and the vice chair when I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to say I always link you in. Is this the best practice to let the Community Development Department know instead of the chair and vice chair? Or?
Well, it helps the Community Development Department when we're setting up for the meeting and getting prepared for the meeting. It helps us to know who's going to be here and who's not. That's the benefit for us. Like tonight, Commissioner Gossa, I had him seated over there when I could have been prepared and had him up at the dais. It also helps us in regards to the mayoral versus city council appointees and who's going to replace them. So I think that's the impetus behind that, is just helps us to get prepared for the meeting.
I was just thinking about quorum, I guess, is what I always worry about when I myself am going to be gone. I worry that there will be a quorum if I'm not here. So that's why I always think the chair should know. But
I think it's best practice just to include vice chair, chair, and Andrew.
Just do it all at once.
Just all 3 of us, and that makes
so should we make
communication
a
better.
change in the bylaws that says that we just loop everybody in at the same time? Because this seems like I'm only supposed to let Andrew know if I'm going to be gone, and not a chair and vice chair. And then Andrew would let them know. But that seems like timely, not the right. I just wanted to have a little discussion to see if everybody, am I the only one who thinks that?
Yeah, in our bylaws, it just says the community development department, huh?
Yeah, and you wouldn't let the chair and vice chair know on a individual basis. I mean, it doesn't say I can't let the chair and vice chair know, but for protocol, like for best practices, what's the best thing to do?
And then it says
In
after
common
that,
sense.
the city planner shall inform the chair, so the
Yeah.
communication should happen, but I think it's just best to include all three of us.
I would agree with
I don't think it's a bylaws change we really need to do, but I think just as a general consensus.
That's only if you're not going to be here.
Yeah, if you're not going to be here. But you wouldn't want to change the bylaw to reflect that, to let all of those parties know at the same time? Not a big deal, just.
I mean, we could, I mean, it's written in there, I mean, just an extra step for you guys to take, and then, yeah, that might be something to look into then, huh?
No, I support having all of us notified, because sometimes you're notified and staff isn't. Sometimes staff is notified and you're not. I think it'd be beneficial if all of us received that notification.
So then that's something we would have to get on our next agenda to change the
Make a
policy.
change.
Yeah, so.
Yep, we can talk about amending him later on in our presentation.
Maybe there'll be others, we'll see.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you for the discussion.
Okay, so we've already asked this question, which of you were appointed by the city council and versus the mayor? Let's see, conflicts. The planning commissioner may declare a conflict of interest regarding agenda items if have any actual or reasonable conflict of interest with an item that is on the agenda, or the planning commission shall vote on the disqualification, or the commissioner shall not participate, nor shall they use his or her influence with other commissioners before, during, or after the meeting. So if there is a conflict of interest, the planning commissioner can declare that and can either abstain or recuse themselves from the proceeding for that particular agenda item. And we do encourage the commissioners to do that. And there have been a couple situations in the past where commissioners have done that. I recall Commissioner Jensen. He had some business ventures that were on the agenda, and he recused himself from those appropriately so. So it does happen from time to time. Sometimes things come up, and we don't want to have any situation where a planning commissioner may appear to be using their position to benefit themselves or their clients or anybody else financially. We want to make sure we maintain that ethical decorum. So the types of conflicts defined in the bylaws can be personal or familial financial ties. Employment is related to the agenda item. Cannot sell or offer services related to duties on the planning commission. And you cannot use the office to seek or obtain special advantage that is not in the public interest. Those are some of the basic conflicts that the planning commissioners may encounter. Obviously, that's probably not going to be all of them. There could be unique circumstances that arise. But basically, it just requires the planning commissioners to evaluate the agenda items and how that may impact their employment or any business ventures or anything of that nature. So we do expect you to always be aware of those potential conflicts. Abstention. A commissioner may abstain from a vote when, number one, they declare abstention prior to discussion. Two, strongly encouraged to remove themselves from discussion, must state their reasons for the abstention, and the chair may request the commissioner who has declared an abstention to step away if the chair determines it necessary to maintain fundamental fairness. So again, one of those duties of the chair is if you believe that the commissioner's involvement in an item is not fair, it is the chair's responsibility to invite that commissioner to leave to step away during that item. So, and then again, alternates shall not replace the abstaining commissioner. Yes?
I've heard some suggestions that actually leaving the room could be good practice. Not all jurisdictions follow that.
Yeah, that is an excellent suggestion. Just go out in the lobby, the rotunda, and wait till the item is complete if there's a conflict of interest there. So, Rights and duties, explanation. A commissioner shall be permitted to explain their vote and shall only be permitted prior to the state of the voting process, prior to the start of the voting process. I'm sorry about that typo there. And then once voting has begun, there shall be no further explanation or discussion on the agenda item. So each commissioner has the right to explain how they're going to vote or explain how they're going to react to an item on the agenda. And a lot of you do use that very, very effectively. So
some of us abuse it.
Schedule.
Speaking of myself.
Planning Commission shall meet second and fourth Wednesday of each month. We just approved our schedule for 2025. The Planning Commission chair or 3 members of the commission may call a special meeting. In your memory, have we ever had a special meeting?
Yes.
What do you recall a special meeting was for?
I know it was right before Christmas, but I don't remember what it was
That's the
about.
one I'm thinking about.
It's the only one I can think of.
It was for the Deseret Peak High School.
That's right. It needed to be done before the end of the year.
It needed to be done for the end of the year, and we had to get that rushed through. And that's the only emergency meeting I've been part of as part of Tooele City, but it does happen from time to time. So, especially for big ticket items and very, very sensitive matters. So. Emergency meetings still require the best notice possible. So we want to make sure that if we can hold an emergency meeting, that we send out as much notification as we can. And then no emergency meetings shall be held until all commissioners have been notified and a majority agree to hold the meeting. So before we had that emergency meeting with the Deseret Peak High School, we had to reach out to each one of the commissioners and make sure we had a quorum. And when we did, then we were able to schedule that meeting. So. Reconsiderations. The Planning Commission may reconsider any of its decisions upon the petition of an affected party. So if you deny an application and the affected party does not agree with that denial, they can petition the Planning Commission and you can reconsider your decision. So there is a process spelled out by the bylaws on how to do that. One, there must be a petition, a written petition within 30 days of the decision. So if they wait for 31 days after your decision, too bad. The decision is final. If they get us a letter within 20 days, within the 30 days, we'll put that on another agenda for you. It must identify the decision of the Planning Commission. The request must be placed on the next meeting agenda. The Planning Commission must vote in a public meeting, and the Planning Commission may reverse, amend, or uphold its prior decision. So if somebody wants to petition the Planning Commission to revisit or to reconsider previous decision, you're under no obligation to change your decision. You know, if you hear them out and you decide your decision was the proper one, you're under no obligation to change that.
So to follow up, sorry, making the meeting longer. They don't have to bring any additional information or anything. They can just bring the same thing back.
They could. They could bring it back in writing to have the Planning Commission reconsider.
But if they do bring more information.
But the Planning Commission decides whether or not to hear it. So it's your determination as a commission. So just because someone wants to have the Planning Commission reconsider doesn't mean you have to do that. It's up to you guys as a commission to make that decision. So if someone comes back and says, I want to reconsider this, well, why? What new information do you have for it? Well, I don't have any. I think you just made the wrong choice. And you can say, we're not going to waste our time with that.
Well, who makes that decision? We as a planning commission make that all together, or does the chair decide what's on the agenda?
Let's go back one slide here.
In what?
The way I read it, as long as they do it within 30
Why not?
days, it goes on the agenda.
It says the Planning Commission must vote in a public meeting in the affirmative to reconsider its previous decision.
That's it.
So would it already be on the agenda to vote as an agenda item, and then we vote to hear it again?
After the planning commission has voted to reconsider an item, it
Yeah,
may
when do you
reverse,
vote to
amend,
reconsider
or
it?
uphold its prior decision.
So
Just a
the way that I
technicality,
see
I
that
don't
would
need to
working,
know.
if somebody wanted to reconsider one of the planning commission to reconsider a decision, it would be placed on the agenda as an item to consider reconsideration.
That's the way I'm reading it.
And then the planning commission at that point would decide whether they want to reconsider it, and then it would go to the next agenda item.
Okay.
So, and that could happen many ways. It could happen two ways. The chairman could request that. It could come to staff. The staff can throw it on that agenda, and then the planning commission decides if they want to reconsider it. Thankfully, these things don't happen very often. Yes, sir.
So that could be on the same agenda, they could consider to
Reconsider and then
hear
agenda.
the same.
I don't know if they could do that on the same agenda because
So it has to be noticed out.
it wouldn't be properly noticed. So,
Within 30 days.
Okay, well, we'll cross that bridge later.
As long as it's voted to reconsider, then the 30 days is, yeah, they're fine, as long as they get it
Well,
in. then-
the 30 days only deals with filing the petition in the first place. There's nothing in here that says you've got to put the item on the next agenda.
That'll be a vote for us to do,
Yep.
us as a commission.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
it doesn't happen very often. I
Right.
don't see these very often.
Definitely.
Okay, rights and duties agenda. An item may be placed on the agenda if the request is provided 15 days prior to the meeting. Any thoughts on this one?
Does that work for staff?
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting one. 15 days prior to the agenda. Typically, we interpret this as when we get an application. When an application comes in, that's their request to have the item placed on a planning commission agenda. And so usually there's a period of staff review that's involved in that. Conditional use permits are the applications that we usually turn right around and put them on. So when they come in, we automatically put them on the next agenda to meet the noticing requirements. That's usually 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So we haven't encountered any issues with the 15 days.
I mean, from my personal standpoint, I'm not speaking for these guys. I don't care whether, I mean, as long, we've been getting our package X number of days prior to this meeting, and that's when we do our due diligence and our research.
Yeah.
If 15 works for you guys who have the heavy lifting to do, fine. If you need 14, if you need 17, you guys are working on this every day.
Yeah, it works well for us. We haven't had any problems with that. So. The chair may place an item on any agenda as long as it meets noticing requirements. And requests for continuation of matters shall be filed with the Community Development Department by noon of the day of the meeting. So in regards to this, sometimes we'll find that an applicant may not quite be ready. And although they've submitted the application and we've noticed it, they want us to pull it off an agenda for a future meeting. We do require them to let us know at least a day before the meeting so we can do that. And it does happen from time to time. We have applicants that sometimes aren't confident with what they're proposing and want some time to reconsider some things. So that does happen from time to time. A quorum. 4 members constitute a quorum. Members abstaining shall count towards consideration of a quorum. That means if we have 4 planning commissioners and one of you decides to abstain from a vote, we no longer have a quorum. And so we can't act, you can't act on that agenda item without a quorum. So if a commissioner abstains, then, and we're down to the bare minimums, that item has to be forwarded on to another meeting. So, if less than 4 commissioners, that means a meeting is canceled. And if a quorum is not present for an agenda item, the commission may move on to the next item. And planning commissioners may not vote by proxy at any meeting. So you have to be here to vote. At the conclusion of any vote, the chair shall declare the result of the vote as following. Did the motion pass or fail? Number of affirmative votes, number of dissenting votes, abstention, and disposition of the item. What exactly does disposition of the item refer to?
Approved or decision or forwarded to the city council or
Yep.
Recommend, not recommend.
Yep. You guys are really good about that.
Disposed to the city council.
You hear both legislative and administrative items. Tonight you had one legislative item, and that was the Copper Canyon, and that's your recommending body, so you forward that on to the city council. The rest of them were all administrative items that you were the final authority on. So it's beneficial to the applicant, and you guys are pretty good about letting them know what's coming up and what's going on. Changing a vote. No commissioner is permitted to change their vote after a vote is cast and the next vote is called for by the chair, except when properly reconsidering an item. So if you decide to reconsider an item, the planning commissioners may change their votes if they decide to do so. Otherwise, once you vote, let you vote. So. Rules and procedures. Order of business. The Planning Commission shall follow the normal procedure. However, the chair may rearrange the procedure if necessary for the expeditious conduct of business. So, chair's discretion. You can really operate your meeting however you'd like to operate the meeting, just to maintain an expeditious meeting. Recesses. The Planning Commission should take a 10-minute recess every 90 minutes or as directed by the chair. The commissioners may request a recess of the chair at any time. I know that in the past, when we've had some long public hearings, the Planning Commission has taken recesses. Not a bad idea after a long public hearing. Recesses may be taken only between agenda items. So if you're hearing an agenda item, you can't just break that agenda and say, oh, let's take a break. You have to do that only between items on your agenda. A motion may be made to break for a specific purpose while also stipulating a specific time to reconvene for the meeting. And then time to reconvene must be on the same day as the meeting, so you can't take a recess for a week. It just applies to the meeting itself. So. Field trips. I've been in jurisdictions where field trips are a big part of the Planning Commission. We had a bus and we took the Planning Commission to dinner, all those things. We don't do that in Tooele City, but we do encourage field trips. We encourage, the bylaws encourage the Planning Commissioners to visit the site of each agenda item prior to the meeting. We encourage that so you can see the site that's going to be affected by the application. If the chair determines a field trip is necessary for the commission, collectively, the field trip shall be held prior to the meeting. The field trip time and location shall be posted on the agenda, and such field trip shall consist of staff and commissioners meeting at a location and traveling individually. So if the chair decides that this particular item would benefit from a collective visit by the Planning Commission, let staff know so that we can place that on the agenda, and then we all meet at the site and basically have an official meeting at the site. And then just a little bit further down, it says the public shall be allowed at the site but shall not be permitted to provide comment during the field trip. We want that comment to be on the record during a public meeting. So we don't want any comment from the general public at a field trip. Okay. Motions. Any planning commissioner can make a motion or second a motion. Motion should state findings for approval or denial, and motion should include conditions. It says should include, it doesn't say shall include. Commissioners may request legal advice from the city attorney in preparation and deliberation of the motion, which you guys do regularly, and Roger always has good advice for us. And if a motion does not receive sufficient votes to pass, the motion fails and may not be renewed by the author. So you can't keep repeating the same motion hoping one of the commissioners will vote differently. If you put it out there and it fails, it's done. A motion must be seconded to be voted upon. A motion that fails to get a second shall be deemed defeated, and a new motion is needed. A motion may be withdrawn by the author prior to the vote, and the motion to table an item for further study or additional information can also be made. In fact, we as staff do encourage the Planning Commission to make motions to table items if they need additional information or would like time to consider an item on the agenda. And then any member may suggest amending a motion. The amendment must be accepted by the author and seconded in order to amend the stated motion. The author does not have to accept the motion. And here's where it gets kind of confusing. An amendment to a motion may be conducted at any time by the chair prior to putting a motion to a vote. The amendment to the amendment must be accepted by the author and second of the original motion in order for it to amend the stated motion and amended motion. Confusing?
Clear as side obscuring fencing.
That's enough of that one.
Amend your amendment.
That was really confusing.
We actually do that all the time. We did it tonight.
Yeah. You guys handle it really well. So, a substitute motion shall replace the original motion if it is made prior to a vote on the original motion. The commission shall vote on the substitution, and there shall not be allowed more than 2 substitute motions for any one action. So you're limited to 2 substitute motions. So that's the fun of the chair. You have to remember all that stuff. So. Decorum and debate. This is a fun one. I always enjoy this one. Rules. The commissioners should address the chair with recognition to their role, such as Mr. Chair or Madam Chair, etc. Commissioners shall refrain from speaking until recognized by the chair, and commissioners shall request to the chair the opportunity to speak during review of the agenda items. You guys are always really good about this. All discussion on any agenda item shall be confined to the facts of the application and avoid references to other unrelated applications. So we need to keep our discussion focused to the agenda item at hand, not to unrelated projects and so forth. Commissioners shall not be permitted to make personal attacks or question the motives of a member of the public, applicants, staff members, or other commissioners. So we want to make sure that we keep ourselves professional with each other. You guys are great with your staff. You don't make fun of us and make our life difficult, and so I really appreciate that. I know Paul does, and I'm sure Kent would appreciate that too. So you guys are good about that. I've had planning commissions in other jurisdictions where they were very antagonistic towards staff, and it was not a pleasant experience. So I appreciate you guys and the way you behave yourselves up there. So. Commissioners may call upon subject matter experts during discussion and debate to answer questions before voting. Questions shall remain relevant to the application being considered on the agenda. Enforcement. This is another fun duty of the chair. The chair may interrupt a speaker or a commissioner at any time to inform them they are out of order in action, statement, or decorum and call them to order. Any commissioner may request the chair call another commissioner to order. So if the chair may not consider an action of a commissioner to be out of order, but another commissioner might, and they have the right to request that the chair call that commissioner to order. If the chair calls for the removal of a commissioner, the commission shall immediately proceed to a vote on the removal prior to any further deliberation or discussion on an agenda item. And then commissioners shall not engage in whispering, getting up from their seat, wandering around, or any other way that could be distracting.
Wow. That's directed at you.
You don't do this while the chair is speaking or taking action. You don't do that when the commission is voting or during any other discussion and debate on an agenda item. And then no member of the commission shall interrupt or question another member in discussion or debate without the consent of the commissioner, and to obtain such consent shall first address the chair. So when another commissioner is talking, let them say their piece and get the chair's approval to speak. And the chair may call for and require the immediate removal of one or more members of the public from a meeting if the person is unruly and disruptive to the conducting of the commission's business. If that person is also likely to continue that behavior without being removed, and then removal is necessary for the orderly proceeding of further commission business. So the chair can invite somebody to leave the meeting if they're not behaving themselves. Sometimes this is when I wish we had a police officer here, just in case that situation does arise. Thankfully, it does not arise very often. I don't think there's ever been a situation in Tooele in the 7 years that I've been here where we've had to invite somebody to leave. We have had some noisy people, and the chair had to say, will you please keep quiet. But for the most part, the meetings have been fairly well maintained. The chair may, at the request of a member of the commission, declare a recess or adjournment of a meeting as a means to curtail or control unruly, inappropriate, or disruptive behavior on part of the public, staff, or the commission. So I guess that's how we would deal with that. If somebody's not willing to leave, we stop the meeting. The chair just stops the meeting when we're done with it. So there's no reason to put up with the potential abuse that could result from that. So. If this happens, all remaining agenda items shall be continued to the next regular Planning Commission meeting. All right, the suspension of bylaws and rules of procedure.
Jump back to that real quick, Andrew.
Yeah, you bet.
In past experience, not in this jurisdiction, but others, adjournment has been a tool of the public or even some members of the thing in order to get things stopped. We talk about recess in here, which doesn't end the meeting. It just recesses it until you can deal with it, which allows us to still continue to finish the agenda. 'Cause sometimes these are time sensitive, and sometimes people are trying to get you to adjourn it in order to advance or stop whatever agenda item you're doing.
That's a good point.
Which can, in fact, cost whole projects, but lots of money, lots of time. So it would need to be a pretty nasty behavior, in my opinion, to call for an adjournment. I'd rather call a recess and call sheriff or call Chief Day and have them come take care of it for 15 minutes and then move on with the night. And we have the ability to do that in here.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Yeah. Okay. While Tyson takes the guy outside.
Did you know that you can suspend the bylaws and rules of procedure? How? So standing bylaws and rules of procedure shall be altered, amended, suspended, or rescinded only with the sustaining vote of the commission. Any voting member of the commission may offer a motion to suspend the bylaws and rules of procedure, must include a rational basis for so doing that is necessary to maintain the fundamental fairness of the commission's review and business. So you can suspend your bylaws and rules of procedure with the majority of the commission, but there has to be a good reason to do it. If there's a problem with the bylaws that are causing procedural issues with your meetings, then that'd be a good rational basis to do that. You couldn't do it just because you don't like the rules and don't feel like abiding by them that night. That option is there if the situation arises and you need to do something else. So.
Andrew, in place of suspending a bylaw, which I'm rarely in favor of, wouldn't it be better to amend the bylaw to change it to better fit what we need it to do? Other than, I don't like rules and then just suspend the rules. It's chaotic in my mind, I think.
I think that's an excellent point.
You have the rules for a reason. If they don't fit what we're trying to do here, and it's reasonable, then you should just change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Spend some time with me up on Capitol Hill in January. You'll see suspension of the rules.
I know, I hate it. It's crazy. Why have rules if you have to suspend them all?
I wonder if a suspension of the rule, though, would be kind of like what happened tonight in having Commissioner Gossett sit in, where it said you shall fill the spot with the mayor appointment to a mayor appointment or commissioner. Obviously, there's not another choice, but isn't that a suspension of the rules, basically? I mean, you didn't vote on it, but maybe that would be an example.
That's definitely one of them.
That's a great point.
And I agree with Commissioner Hammer's comment. If there's a reason to suspend, then let's change it. Let's fix it.
And I don't think we've ever done it beyond what you just brought up, which we kind of do just as a matter of course. And maybe we had to change the verbiage in here for that. But Commissioner Hammer's 100% right. If we're just doing that, there's a reason we need to change it. And if we haven't contemplated something that needs to be changed here, then that's fine, but we need to address it at the very first possible moment rather than necessarily. I mean, we could conceivably change the quorum requirements.
Right.
And,
In effect, yeah. Yeah.
And I was joking with Tyson. I literally was this close to moving for suspension of the rules on the chairman.
Yeah.
I was that close. And then I thought in my head, what would Melanie say? And we can't have that. She doesn't like suspension of the rules, so we're sorry, Tyson.
We're here.
But I agree 100%. It has to be pretty dire for us to be doing that.
Yeah. But it is there if that situation arises. We can do that. How do we amend the bylaws? Bylaws may be amended by the Planning Commission after placing the amendment proposal on a regular meeting agenda, considering the proposal during a public meeting, and upon a majority vote of all the members of the Planning Commission in attendance, including the alternates. So we want the alternates to also be part of the bylaw amendment. And then the public shall have the opportunity to review and respond in writing to a proposal to amend the bylaws and rules of procedure prior to adoption by the Planning Commission. What the bylaws don't spell out or indicate is how do we provide the public with that opportunity? Do we put a notice in the city's website? Do we put it on Facebook? It doesn't really indicate how we go ahead and provide that comment period. So I would say that would probably just come down to the Planning Commission's determination. But the bylaws don't specify that.
It does say it's placed on a regular meeting agenda, and you already put that whole package together and put it out to the public. So they have as much chance to rule on that as they do on anything else that we did.
Okay. So those are the bylaws. If you see anything in those bylaws that you are not happy with and would like to change, we can do that. Just let me know or let Kent know, and we can.
I think there were a couple of them that you brought up.
I had a question too. Just having watched the city council go through a pretty exhaustive process on public comment earlier this year. Wondering if we shouldn't add, frankly, I'd like to mirror whether they change theirs or we add something to ours. I think we ought to be fairly consistent between the two bodies as to what's, I don't want anybody coming in and saying, well, city council lets me speak for 3 minutes and planning commissioners only let me count for 2, and them trying to keep it straight, us trying to keep it straight. I think for the same reason that the council went through that exercise, we probably ought to look at it too.
Yeah, and that's we could amend the bylaws to reflect that if you wanted to pursue that.
Yeah, we should talk about it.
So.
But not tonight.
Has to be on the agenda.
Yep.
And I don't get that decision anymore.
Just have the chair send Kent or I an email.
Not adjourned yet.
We can do that.
I think it's going to make the chair. Things are all rosy right now. We're not having a whole lot of public clamor. We're not having a lot of issues that sometimes the council do. But I can foresee an opportunity. I'd really hate to not have those things in place and have something come up. And this community and several other neighboring ones are ripe for something. If somebody suggests the wrong application, we could have a room full of people. Which there's nothing wrong with that. But if we don't have the rules to handle that particular thing,
then we look reactive instead of
proactive.
We do have a potential for an item coming to you in the future that will probably generate a lot of comment.
All right, let's have this conversation the meeting before that one.
It'll be a very large item when it comes. So, yeah.
Well, maybe we shoot that to the new chair and have him put that on an agenda.
Yeah, we can put that on whenever you're ready.
Okay.
So, okay. Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate everything you do for us, and you guys do a good job on our commission. We're glad we have you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew, do you have our hours for training with you? You know how many we have?
Memorize.
You got enough?
Do I?
Yep.
Yes, I keep track of all the hours.
And I did.
Commissioners Sloan and Anderson and Robinson attended the training. So you guys are way over the required 4 hours. You get 1 hour for attending 12 meetings per year, which each of you has. And then with this training today, you are all over 4. Some of you are 5, 4.5. But this completes your training for the year. So.
Except for Commissioner Hammer, she has an 8-hour class due tomorrow, right?
That's right.
It feels like that, like I'm cramming for a test. Miss a meeting, miss a training, I'm all stressed.
Miss a meeting, miss a lot.
You're good. All right.
Up to the last minute.
It feels
Before
like
we
it.
adjourn,
It's
can I
final.
just be ridiculously cheesy and thank Tyson for managing these cats for the last couple of years in a really, really professional way that we won't replicate for at least another year. But I know how much work you put into this, and I for one appreciate you very much. And I don't do cheesy very well. I sure as hell don't do it cheesy with you.
Yeah, no need to.
Thank you, Jason.
I do appreciate it, and I did learn from Chris and Matt, so they're great teachers. Just watch them.
Appreciate you.
All right. With all of that having been said,
Move to adjourn.
we are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioner Hammer.